Let's get you other news, and this is with respect to serious charges that are being made by an Air India air hostess. She has accused a senior airline executive of sexual harassment. She's also gone ahead to question no action having been taken by the airline. She's written to the Union Civil Aviation Minister seeking justice. She's tweeted about this as well, clarifying that she has no faith in the internal inquiry. Meanwhile, Times Network, that tried to reach out to Air India, has refused to comment on this matter. Let's get in further inputs. We have with us our correspondent Apurva with these details. Apurva, given the fact that she's done this as a last resort, she's gone public with this complaint, writing on Twitter, reaching out directly to the Civil Aviation Minister because she's seen that there has been no justice from the internal inquiry.
Absolutely. In fact, this is a letter that has been written to the Union Civil Aviation Minister Suresh Prabhu and also addressed to the Prime Minister of this country, Narendra Modi. This is a letter that has been written by an air hostess of Air India accusing a senior executive of Air India of serious charge of sexual assault. Now, this is a letter which goes on to highlight what has happened for the last 6 years. Now, in that second paragraph, she goes on to write how despite several complaints that have been made, now there are two interesting points here to note and very, very concerning at this point. First and foremost, she goes on to write that this particular senior executive has been a serial offender and he has misbehaved and his conduct has been grossly different with other women as well. But because of his status, because of his stature as well, he has people are really scared to go against him, and that is the reason she goes on to write that for 6 years she dealt with it. She dealt with the abuse, she dealt with the assault, she dealt with the kind of inappropriate gestures and passes that were made at her. And finally, when she couldn't take it anymore, last September 2017, she mustered her courage and went ahead to complain about this particular senior executive to the company first, but not receiving any help from the company. She also wrote a letter to the CMD, the then CMD of Air India, asking for some kind of justice and asking for some kind of stringent action, especially of sexual assault at workplace. Having had no headway made in those two regards, she also went ahead and approached the Air India Women's Sexual Harassment Committee as well. And to her disappointment, she goes on to write that nothing was done, and she also has alleged of gross cover-up of sorts through that committee as well. And for almost 3 months, the Internal Complaints Committee also dragged its foot, and so far the complainant in her letter also wrote that she has lost every hope and faith from this enterprise. The fact that there's been grossly trying to cover up this entire matter, and the fact that whenever they've been called for even a slight questioning of sorts, there was never any kind of interrogation that has really taken place. And till date, the complainant doesn't know what is the status of her complaint, especially with the Internal Complaints Committee. Having dealt with this and having dealt with this torture for almost 9 months of complaining about this particular senior executive, she finally went public with this letter, has pleaded for a time with the Union Aviation Minister as well, and has strongly invoked Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. In a very moving statement, she goes on to write, if women are not safe in their workplace, the entire agenda of the government in promoting women empowerment and Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao really falls on deaf ears. So this is a letter that has now been written by
we'll have to leave it there, but it's important that you pointed out here that this was after a 9 months ordeal in seeking justice from the internal committee. She's now finally written directly to the minister, gone public with this complaint, and she's written to the minister the letter dated 25th of this month. So it's been 4 days also since the Civil Aviation Minister has also received this letter. No response from his office on that either. Apurva, thank you for those inputs.